This is the Wannabe Saints podcast, where we take virtues and try to break them down so they become tangible and applicable to your life.
We aren't here to bring you advice, we're here to bring you ed virtue. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Rachel.
We're your hosts, and this is Wannabe Saints.
Cool, so welcome to Wannabe Saints. Tonight, I am the mom of... How many children are here? 7 children?
I don't know. 7?
Waking up in 7 hours, which sounds pretty good. But I'm waking up at 3:30 in the morning. Which means this is one of our earliest recording times because of that.
It honestly is. Wow, way to go us.
Yeah. So I have 7 teenagers here tonight, ready to go for March for Life. And thankfully, like, none of these kids have phones. So
It's amazing.
yeah. So
They're having so much fun.
I don't even
They're pulling pranks on each other. I told them to go play Mad Libs. And they're having a blast.
Yeah, it's been fun. I do actually really enjoy this age group. So, anyways. So, tonight, before we get into our topic, which you would have already read what the topic is. So, we're talking on integrity tonight.
Yep.
But before we get into that, what are you working on, Jordan?
All right, so let me start with this. So one of my things that I was going to do for Lent, which I don't, you can tell me if I said this on the forgiveness one, I don't remember. But I'm biting my tongue when it comes to my annoyance with my animals, my pets.
Mm-hmm. You did say it?
I did say it.
However, I
you
took
delete
that part out.
Okay, well.
Because I took out that whole first 30 minutes that I need to put out at some point.
Okay, so anyways, I am working, one of my things for Lent was I'm biting my tongue when I get really frustrated with the annoying sounds that my animals make, because me snapping at them being like, shut up, is more annoying to Kyle.
I forgot that you're doing this because last night you looked at the cat and you're like, I love you. And I was like, what?
Yeah, so I've been trying to do that for Lent, of biting my tongue at my snappy sounds. Except I actually have been doing really good at it, but I've been more snappy at Kyle. Unfortunately.
Oh no.
So now that I've gone to confession for that, I am working on my tone with Kyle if there's something I'm frustrated with, or working on my my approach to discussing something, or if it's just anything that I get annoyed with, either biting my tongue or just working on the way I say things to him. So
that's good.
Yeah, if it's unnecessary, I bite my tongue. If it's something that's kind of like, this is my idea of parenting, I deliver it in a more appropriate way.
One might say that you have integrity in your thoughts and words these days.
I'm trying.
No, that's awesome. That's really good. I feel pretty lame over here.
What are you working on?
I really don't know. Oh, jeepers.
Jeepers. I mean, you're working on a lot this week. You're taking children to a March for Life at 3 in the morning.
I said it as a joke, like I'm working on surviving this week. But, I mean, honestly, I'm not being very thoughtful in my answer. I don't know.
I mean, it's a lot to do, though, and a lot to handle, and you're handling it with grace, I feel like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, honestly, right now my mindset is I'm just focused on getting through this week. And not getting through it in the negative sense, but just like...
taking each step at a time.
I'm taking it day by day right now because I play like that social worker, counselor role. And so lately I've had a lot of teens or students in my office. It's just that time of the year. And on Friday, we have our all-school retreat, which is obviously...
this coming Friday.
Yeah, like
this week.
One of my biggest things to do for the school. But then tomorrow's the March for Life, so gone all day, which is awesome. Then Wednesday is just kind of like my average day, but grades are due on Thursday. And I have a lot of things to get done for that. Thursday we'll be getting ready for the retreat. And then Friday's the retreat. Saturday is confirmation day for one of my nephews and two of my nieces, but I'm sponsored to two of them. And so being there for that. And then Sunday is a friend's baby shower. Shout out Fran.
We
love
with the
you.
baby twinnies.
Yeah, we
Whoop,
love you.
whoop.
Can't wait. And then Monday I leave for California to go see my sister. A lot of amazing things. Just that is
A lot at once.
That's just my focus is day by day right now. And so I'm failing at being a very self-reflective person. Let's get through today. Take today for today.
Yep.
So, yeah. Anyways.
It's a lot of being there for other people that you have to be doing. A lot of other people.
Some almsgiving. It's
good. So, into integrity we go.
Yes, integrity. Let me think about this for a second. So integrity is an interesting topic, or virtue, you could say, to discuss, because I think there's a couple ways to look at integrity before we go into a definition and all of the things. But integrity is not just a virtue.
It is kind of a way to describe a virtuous person.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's how we were talking
Yeah,
about it.
like integrity, it is virtue, but to be a person of integrity
Is to be a person of virtue.
Yeah, it's not necessarily integrity is this individual virtue that is, this is how you do it. It is, but it isn't.
Right. In order to get to integrity, you have to kind of have a bunch of other virtues in line also.
Mm-hmm. So, which leads us to the definition. So, integrity has two definitions. First one being, it's a quality of being honest and having strong morals. And the second definition is being whole and undivided. And it's really that second definition that I think encompasses the most of what we are going to discuss. But to hit on that first definition really quick, integrity, the quality of being honest and having strong morals. I think this is the type of integrity that maybe society
understands mostly.
Yeah. Oh, you're a person of integrity. You're an honest worker is what you tend to hear.
You show up every day. You have integrity.
You have strong values. And that's where it's, if you look at values, they're a person of integrity. They value good things. They value family. They value faith. They value being pro-life. They value the country.
Yeah. You value being a good mom, a good parent, a good sibling, a good spouse. You have these values and standards.
It's the person you meet who you're like, oh, they're a good person.
Yeah.
They're good people. But maybe they don't have faith, and so you wouldn't call them virtuous, but it's like,
you'd call them, they'd be a person of integrity.
Yeah. And I think that is a summary to that first definition. But that's where the challenge is, okay, you can value all of these things, but do you truly stand for them and choose them to then become that virtue? So I can value having a clean room.
Right.
But am I choosing to have the clean room? Am I being virtuous enough that I am actually keeping up with that?
Right.
Plenty of times I'm not. That's why my Lent is doing my laundry all the way through. So do I value clean laundry and nice laundry and one that I don't have to steam in the morning because I actually put it away when I should have? Yes, I do actually. But do I actually do said steps to have that? No, I've not been good at that. So am I virtuous in it? Absolutely not.
You don't have integrity with laundry.
No, I don't. I am right now, but hopefully it lasts. But like that, I guess that's my idea or an example to the average person or society's look on integrity. Mm-hmm. I think that's that first one.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So moving on to what honestly most of this episode will be about is the definition that is being whole and undivided. What does that mean to be a whole and undivided person? It means a lot of things. It does. It truly does.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think we should start for the people with the catechism.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. The integrity of the person is this section in the catechism, and it starts with paragraph 2338. And it says, quote, "The chaste person maintains the integrity of the powers of life and love placed in him. This integrity ensures the unity of the person. It is opposed to any behavior that would impair it. It tolerates neither a double life nor duplicity in speech." End quote. I'm just going to stop there. Let's just unpack that first. The integrity ensures the unity of the person. Okay? So integrity is being a person of unity. That's what the church is teaching us already. It is opposed to any behavior that would impair it. It tolerates neither a double life nor duplicity in speech.
So the double life, meaning you're the same person no matter where you're at. You're a kind and generous person when you're out in public, but you're a spastic wife at home. You're causing division in your home. That's not having integrity.
100%.
So that's where like the double life is.
Mm-hmm.
The duplicity in speech, it's you're so sweet, I love you, and you go to the next person and you talk crap about that person. You were just telling them that they're so sweet and all their good qualities that they have.
Mm-hmm.
That's the duplicity in speech is how I would view it, right?
Absolutely. So this just makes me think of the idea of if you want your child to feel as though your home is a safe haven, you need to be a person of integrity. Your family needs to be people of integrity. Imagine you leave your own home and you're thinking, what are they saying about me? What are they going to say about me?
Yeah.
Which means even if you're not saying it about them, for someone to think, ooh, what are they going to say about me?
Yeah.
Says you're not being a person of integrity because you talk so much smack about whoever that they leave feeling, shoot, what are they going to say about me?
Right.
What are they saying about me?
And also, being a person of integrity is knowing that you're living so virtuously that you don't care what somebody else says about you, whether you're in the sense offending them because of truth. Like you're being a truthful, honest person, but you don't care that they're offended by you because you know that you're doing what is right.
You're standing for truth.
You're standing for truth and justice and gentleness and whatever. But you don't walk away thinking like, ooh, are they going to talk bad about me now?
Yeah.
I know I was being honest and truthful and kind in everything I did, so I don't care what they have to say about me because I know by God, hopefully I'm doing what he thinks is right, not what they think is right.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That's great. The other part that I wanted to hit on was it is opposed to any behavior that would impair it. So this is all where all the vices would come in.
Right.
If you are a person of integrity, you are... you know what? I'll pause on that because the next paragraph literally talks about what I'm about to say anyway. I'm realizing it's about that self-mastery. So yeah. I'm going to just keep reading the catechism because the catechism is better than anything I have to say. So in paragraph 2339, it says, quote, "Chastity includes apprenticeship in self-mastery, which is a training in human freedom. The alternative is clear. Either man governs his passions and finds peace, or he lets himself be dominated by them and becomes unhappy. Man's dignity, therefore, requires him to act out of conscious and free choice, as moved and drawn in a personal way from within, and not by blind impulses in himself or by mere external constraint. Man gains such dignity when ridding himself of all slavery to the passions. He presses forward to his goal by freely choosing what is good and by his diligence and skill effectively secures for himself the means suited to this end, end quote. That's a lot, but it's really good. So, first thing, if you listen to our last couple episodes, this just goes right with them. Forgiveness with Father DeTomo and talking about mortification. Mortification is that self-mastery, right? You're denying yourself of those desires. You're not becoming enslaved by your desires or your passions. So to be a person of integrity requires fasting, requires denial, requires defeating your desires. And I do want to say really quick, I don't know if this is a tangent or not, but thinking of passion and desire is not to say like stifle that thing. Your desire and your passion is good, and your desire and passion is ultimately your heart's deeper desire longing for heaven. And so desire and passion are innate within you, not to stifle and be, oh, you can't act upon this desire, or this thing, or this passion, right? Lust is always a good example, right? Like it's not supposed to be like stifle it. I can't act upon this. It's actually an opportunity for prayer. And it calls us to prayer. And when we can see our desires and passions that way, we're now taking them and not just denying them, but knowing that God put them in our heart for good. And it's actually a longing for heaven. And that kind of goes back to our hope episode from one of our first episodes. And that is the call. It's, oh, I really want this thing right now. Or, and I can't have it. Or, oh, I shouldn't want this. It's being able to say, oh no, there's beauty in this. There's goodness in this. And now it's learning how to control that. That's the mastery, not the stifling. The mastery is being able to say, here's a desire. Here's a temptation. Let me take this. Because temptation isn't the sin. The sin is acting upon the temptation. And desire is good. Passion is good. It's taking that and saying, I'm longing for love. I'm longing for satisfaction. Let me take this and turn this into a prayer. And that is the mastery, not the stifling, not ridding everything.
Right. It's also, too, in certain things, obviously, there's a temptation because it is desirable. So it's having the resistance until it's an appropriate time to actually even have that thing. In the example of lust, it's saving that temptation, resisting it until it's appropriate to have the thing that is desirable when it's actually going to be good and holy for you. I mean, we can even go for like the anger. When there's actual true justice at hand, there is a right time to have anger. I would say a thing that I've been trying to think of with Orlin is when he's acting out and smacks me in the face, I want to be able to tell him it's okay to be mad, but you can't be disrespectful and mean about it. So it's resisting the temptation to act out, but you can still have that emotion and be okay with it. But that's the control. That's where the virtue comes in.
Yeah, you're teaching him, you're upset, now you can't hit.
Right. It's okay to be upset.
Yeah.
It's okay to have this feeling, but you can't be mean about it.
True. Yeah.
You can't be disrespectful. You can't hit. Whatever.
No, yeah. That's actually a really good example. It's teaching adults and teenagers being passive-aggressive isn't the healthy response, right? So
it's okay to be upset, but take this feeling, turn it around, and do the right thing with it.
It's having that tough conversation.
Yeah.
It's loving anyway. It's forgiving quickly.
Right.
And it's being meek is what it is.
Yeah.
Letting things roll off your back. that's mastery.
Yeah.
Saying, you know what? I don't actually think that was intended for me, and they're probably going through something. And if it was intended for you in that way, that's kind of more of a their problem than it is yours.
Right.
But your mastery is being able to handle it meekly.
Yes. I know that we already had a whole episode on meekness and gentleness, but in what I was listening to with Father Mike Schmitz today, he was saying when there's like a wild stallion, the way to tame it is they meek the stallion. And so to take this wild beast with all of this power is they meek it. And it takes this power and puts it into control.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did derail, I think, a little bit from this paragraph.
Yep, that's okay. Let's get back to it.
So I'm just going to reread the paragraph because I derailed us with my tangent. So 2339 again says, chastity includes an apprenticeship in self-mastery, which is a training in human freedom. The alternative is clear. Either man governs his passions and finds peace, or he lets himself be dominated by them and becomes unhappy. Man's dignity therefore requires him to act out of conscious and free choice, as moved and drawn in a personal way from within, and not by blind impulses in himself or by mere external constraint. Man gains such dignity when ridding himself of all slavery to the passions. He presses forward to his goal by freely choosing what is good, and by his diligence and skill effectively secures for himself the means suited to this end. End quote. So that first line says, chastity includes an apprenticeship in self-mastery, which is a training in human freedom. We already kind of talked about that mastery of like the temptations and the passions. But the thing that is standing out to me is human freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And how we fall so easily in our fallen world. We're like, oh, well, if I just do whatever I want, that's when I'm free.
Yeah.
That's human freedom. But truly, it's living within boundaries that you have more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I was talking to my mom the other night. So this is her analogy, and I thought this was awesome. And she said, in parenting, when you're disciplining your child, you're not doing it because you want to discipline them. But boundaries matter.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, imagine your yard. And your child stays close to the house when there's no fence line because they don't know how far they can go, and it's scary. Right? How far can they go? How far can they push the limits? But if you have a fence, you have a boundary line, they willingly run to the edge of the yard, to the fence, because there's a clear boundary of, oh, I can go this far, or I can do this, because this is our limit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're living more freely because there's a clear boundary than when there's not.
Oh.
And I thought that was amazing, and I was like, that's
is.
very cool. But this is what that made me think of, is it's a training. Self-mastery allows you to live more freely.
Yeah.
Because you're not bound and stuck to these vices and passions that you have, but rather you are more joyful and free to live because you have that mastery.
Yeah.
You have that clear boundary of, I don't need that to be happy.
Right.
And it's not even that you sit there and think to yourself, I need this piece of chocolate to be happy. I need this cup of coffee to be happy. I need this glass of wine. I need to go work out to be happy.
Right.
You're not sitting there thinking that necessarily in the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
But when you're enslaved to these things, it's why you're not joyful when you can't have that thing. It's why you're not joyful when you don't get your workout in, because it's not mastered. It's not self-mastery. You're not being that person of integrity. Because the person of integrity would be, okay, this is how my day went. It's fine I didn't get a workout. Who cares? I don't need the piece of chocolate. It's not going to make or break my day.
Yeah.
You're a more joyful person and you live more freely being like, it's my choice. Or, so what?
Yeah.
And so that boundaries matter. The self-mastery matters. And it's almost opposite of what you think of, oh, if I do this, how do I get more freedom? I'm denying myself of something.
I feel like you can kind of see that in both ways, though, because sometimes when you want to reach a goal, I guess in a sense, like you want to reach a goal, you have to set a boundary.
Mm-hmm. Can I give another example?
Yes.
Okay, so I tell my nieces and nephews all the time. So the best piece of advice I can give you is to just listen to your parent. Because if you listen to your parent, you're going to have more freedom. What do you mean? They tell me no to going to the movies. Or they're going to tell me blah, 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 blah. They're not going to let me do this. And I was like, no, but listen. If your parent says, go take your clothes upstairs. I folded your laundry. Go take it up. Do the dishes. Mow the lawn. Blah, 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 blah. You're not allowed to go do this tonight. And you just say yes, 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 yes. And you're doing the things out of obedience. When you say, hey, Mom, can I go to the movies with my friends? She's going to be like, yeah. Because you listen. And you do the things. Yeah. You're living within the boundary.
Trust.
You built the trust. So you're living within a boundary.
Yeah.
And now you get to do the fun things because you are listening to what they are saying.
Yeah.
There's trust built there. Integrity is trust and honesty.
Yes.
Right? And so, anyways, I don't know. That's just another example of if you live within that certain boundary, you have more freedom.
Yes. So I guess in the sense, being that, like, I want to be this fit and healthy person,
Mm-hmm.
there's obviously these boundaries to be had. So with integrity, you need to make the decisions to stick to this boundary, this guideline, to do the things in order to reach this goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say no. I have to say no to this X, Y, Z. But I also feel like you can't be hard on yourself if you fail. Is that kind of what you're saying?
So I guess my mindset with this example of a person working out. Let's say you work out 6 days of the week. 4 to 6 days of the week you work out for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a person who does it 7 days a week. If the example that comes to my head is like, okay, you have a day that's completely thrown off, goes unexpected, and your routine didn't get to happen.
Yes.
Working out for you, we talked about this, is inherently good for you.
Yes.
But when it
if
wrecks
it
your
derails
mood
yes.
because you didn't get, and one day's not going to kill you. That's not saying
totally.
You're not a diligent, disciplined person.
Totally.
It's saying someone came into town and it was actually more important and better for me to just give them my time
yes.
than to go do that workout.
Yes, I get that for sure.
Okay, so that's kind of the point I was trying to make,
yes.
which I probably wasn't clear on. It's in that sense that is where you need to have that mastery of, and that's where the freedom lies.
Yes.
That's where your joy lies, where it's like, I'm not upset that I missed my workout.
Yes.
You were more important. Being there for you was that thing.
Yes.
And missing that one day, maybe 2 days, isn't like,
it's not the end of the world.
You lost all that you just worked on. It's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, no, totally.
Okay.
I think just what I was thinking of earlier, I had the same example of you want this healthy lifestyle, you want to feel fit and healthy and good. You just can't say YOLO every time there's a piece of cake in front of you.
Yes.
You can't just like let the skipping the workout or like giving into the dessert at a party throw you off. But you also just can't say YOLO every single day and not stick with it if there's a goal that needs to be met.
I think it is the same concept on two extremes.
Yes, exactly.
You have to choose the balance. And actually what I'm thinking of is in the Spiritual Survival of the Modern World, it talks about, I'm not going to read it just off the top of my head. It talks about how that person that is growing in their faith and they're very in tune with their, what's the word? Their interior life. That's what I'm trying to think of. They're in tune with their interior life. They're reflecting all the time. They're really, really growing spiritually in this idea, this personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue that can arise when someone's so focused on that, now
They see somebody they care about
and
not
they're
doing
not,
it.
and now they're struggling to love them and struggling to not be judging them and condemning them for it.
Right.
Or it's now you're being, super uncharitable towards that person because you're like, how could you not?
Yeah.
And it's that same balance of, it is good to be reflective. It is good to grow. But you can't put that on
somebody else.
someone else
Mm-hmm.
if that's not where God has them.
Right. So there's like a part in the Bible, I don't know exactly where it was, but I'll just be honest, I heard this in the Father Mike Schmidt's video that I watched.
Uh-huh.
But he was talking and saying that Jesus says that no one can serve two masters. You end up choosing, you choose both and you end up hating one. So then he was asking, like, what's the purpose of your life? Like giving your life to Jesus? Or are you trying to live for your selfish desires? Well, I want to be this good holy Catholic person, but like, I want to party all the time. I want to do X, Y, and Z. Whatever your circumstance is.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not choosing who you truly want to be, you'll end up hating the person you've become and the God who's calling you to more.
Mm.
So I feel like that kind of hits on, the chastity includes apprenticeship and self-mastery, which is training in human freedom. The alternative is clear. Either man governs his passions and finds peace, or he lets himself be dominated by them and becomes unhappy. So who is your master?
Which, it's even Hidden Power of Kindness when we read that little excerpt. Which wolf are you going to feed?
Right, exactly.
Which one inside of you are you feeding?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's where the wholeness of a person comes in. It's like, are you choosing this person you want to become? Or are you choosing your own desires?
That brings you back to, what are you valuing? Are you actually taking that value in
turning it into
turning
virtue?
it into the virtue?
Right.
Integrity is that bridge. What do you value? Think about it. What are your values? What do you value? Do you value family time?
Choose the family time.
Do you
time.
give that?
Be present.
Yeah.
Don't say, I want to spend time with my family and then have the TV on the whole time or look at your phone.
Mm-hmm. Those are just little ways of, what do you value? What do you say that you value? Oh, I value going on picnics with my family. Well, we haven't been on one in 2 years.
Right.
Then you don't actually,
right.
What?
Exactly.
How can you say that? I love adoration. I love adoration. It's my favorite type of prayer. Okay, but do you go?
Right. I love adoration. I went for the first time since August this week.
It's also the same
Yes.
thing as people will say, what you give time to shows your priorities.
Right.
So if you say, I want to spend time with you to somebody, do you actually want to spend time with them? Like,
right.
what is it that you value? What are you giving your time to?
Right.
Because that's ultimately going to lead you to being a person of integrity, is even just making your virtue align with the value. Mm-hmm. So, I clearly don't do that in laundry and a lot of other areas, but it's calling me out. Anyways.
Yeah. So funny.
So, kind of moving into the next part of the catechism.
With paragraph 2340. Whoever wants to remain faithful to his baptismal promises and resist temptations will want to adopt the means for doing so. Self-knowledge, practice of an ascesis adapted to the situation that confronts him, obedience to God's commandments, exercise of the moral virtues, and fidelity to prayer. Indeed, it is through chastity that we are gathered together and led back to the unity from which we were fragmented into multiplicity. I think the part of practicing ascesis...
Which, explain that to the people.
Ascesis is exercise and practice. So I'm just going to kind of go off of that, but this just is like a whole derail. But I think it's a good thing to just talk about.
No, I mean, I derailed on the last one. Go for it.
So I would say this is just being like virtuous and building into integrity. It starts with having responsibility and knowing what needs to be done. Then having the competence and training to have the ability to do what you're supposed to do. And then that leads into you need to have integrity to do the thing that needs to be done when it needs to be done. And, to have integrity, you need to have the discipline. You need to even know where to even begin. It's having this knowledge. So I would say that kind of almost starts with to remain faithful to your baptismal promises, you need to resist temptation and to adopt the means in doing so. So you need to have that self-knowledge and practice of ascesis. So that ascesis is exercise. It is practice. And you need to adapt to situations that confront you. You need to have obedience to God's commandments, the exercise of moral virtues, and fidelity to prayer. So I feel like that's all that practice and training in order to even know how and when to make that decision in the time of temptation.
Mm-hmm.
And so then integrity is actually choosing the resistance, is choosing that virtue in these moments of temptation.
So what you're hitting on just, I think, leads into what does integrity require? Well, it requires virtue.
Right.
And it's what virtues? Well, to be quite honest with you, a crap ton. It requires a lot of virtue. It requires the discipline and self-mastery that you're talking about, which is the temperance. It quite literally says in the Catechism in the next paragraph, the virtue of chastity comes under the cardinal virtue of temperance, which seeks to permeate the passions and appetites of the senses with reason. The cardinal virtue of temperance leads to many, many other virtues. Obviously chastity, as it said, but it's discipline, diligence, prudence, obedience, honesty, trustworthy, so on.
Yeah, piety.
Piety, yeah. It's all of these things.
Just integrity requires virtue. Okay, guys? Just get it through your head.
So ridiculous. Yeah.
Going back to like that wholeness and unity, it's being in that present moment. Like living in the here and now. That's what also having integrity is. It's showing up even if you don't want to, but you're putting aside that dislike of the situation and being there knowing that this is where God wants you to be.
Commitment.
Because it's that commitment. But it's rather than being like, I don't want to be here. I wish I was doing something else. I have to be doing X, Y, and Z, but I'm here instead. No, you're here. Do what needs to be done to its fullest.
Yeah.
And even if it's not something that you don't want to be doing, or it's always I'm at work. I can't wait for the weekend. I can't wait to get home. I can't wait to spend time with my family. I can't wait to chill. And then as soon as you're home on the weekend, it's, oh shoot, what does my work week look like? What do I have to do this week? What's my checklist that I need to make sure is done for the week? And that's all that you think about the whole time with your family. You're never truly present in the moment because you're continuously wanting the next thing in life. So I feel like that integrity is just also being mentally and emotionally there instead of always moving on to the next thing.
So, St. Catherine of Siena says, my girl, true commitment, which I would argue is a major component to being a person of integrity, specifically in action, which obviously would then connect the other two. You can't have one without the other. But is true commitment is showing up even when the moment has passed. When the moment has passed that you said yes. When the moment has passed that you wanted to do the thing. True commitment is saying, oh man, I said I would hang out with you. Okay, I'm showing up. Oh man, I said I would help you. Darn it, I don't want to. Okay, I'm showing up. Oh, I said I would be at this function and the day is here and I really don't want to and I just wanted to be like, I'm sick. Right. It's integrity is
the showing up.
Is the showing up.
Yes. That's where so much more blessing comes in when you show up. But that's when you put the dislike aside.
like
the
grace,
distaste for it.
grace
Yes,
shows up.
This is where grace comes in.
Interesting. Why don't we read that really quick?
Okay, read it.
The last paragraph, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, says, "It is also a gift from God, a grace, a fruit of spiritual effort. The Holy Spirit enables one whom the water of baptism has regenerated to imitate the purity of Christ." Purity not just meaning
Chastity,
yeah,
not that kind of purity. It's purity of intention and action, thought, word, deed.
But God gives this grace. That's exactly what you were saying. So
Yeah. It was like that showing up even when you don't want to. But the sin against, or the vice against integrity is acedia, or sloth, which is the desire to be somewhere else or to avoid responsibility. Which I've never heard that definition of it before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So read that one more time for me.
So the vice against integrity is acedia, or sloth, which is actually the desire to be somewhere else or to avoid responsibility, which makes sense that that's obviously the opposite of integrity. Integrity is being fully present and committing to something.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just saying, hey, I have this commitment, but it's showing up to that commitment and being present, rather than showing up and being like, why am I here? And
why am I here? I could be somewhere else. I need to do this and that. I can't listen to you because I have too much else on my mind. I'm whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are great points. But now, so there's one more thing that I want to hit on. I'm going to preface this before I read it, is that integrity is lifelong. You can be a person of integrity, I would say, at one point in your life and then not in another.
Mm-hmm. Fully.
Because of what I'm about to read to you. What?
This is weird how I said it. Yeah, fully.
You said fully? I heard totally.
I meant to say totally, but I heard fully come out of my mouth.
Oh, I'm not really sure. We're going to have to listen back. Anyways, so integrity is lifelong. It's an ongoing thing. It is, you could be a person of integrity for a time, and then maybe not at other times, time periods of your life. I mean, that's what sin is, right? You could be like, I would never fall into blah, blah, blah. But then you could hit a point in your life where, for whatever reason, you're in that moment of, like, if you were tested like Job, they were, oh, test him. He won't stay true to you, Lord. So he has all the tests. And he is a man of integrity. Not once was it that he denied the Lord in that, right? He went through all of these crazy trials and stayed true to the Lord, stayed true to his word, stayed true to his actions, stayed true to all of it. If I was tested like Job, well, there's a reason that I was not Job. Because, no, I probably wouldn't do very well. So, if you were tested like Job, would you be able to be that person of integrity? So, integrity is a lifelong, ongoing thing that in stages you may have and in stages you might lose. The goal is to not lose it. The goal is to always have it, or to come to have it if you aren't a person of integrity.
Mm-hmm. It's going through the training to gain the integrity.
Exactly. So rather than me going on, I will just read the catechism now. So starting with paragraph 2342, it says, self-mastery is a long and exacting work. One can never consider it acquired once and for all. It presupposes renewed effort at all stages of life. The effort required can be more intense in certain periods, such as when the personality is being formed during childhood and adolescence. I'll just pause right there real quick. I mean, I guess I kind of want to change what I even said. Maybe it's not that integrity is lost, but your integrity is tried more intensely in certain periods. So Job, right? It's, oh
Consistently his whole
Lord,
life.
it's like, oh Lord, like you've blessed him so much. Of course he can be a person of integrity. And all of a sudden it's this trial after trial intensely. And it's like, oh, his integrity is still there. So truly, and integrity looks different for each person because your personality is different.
Right.
So you're going to be inclined to certain virtues and gifts that I am not. And so the thing that says to someone is hard is not hard for you. Their integrity comes from the hard thing that they're mastering over.
Right.
So that's also a difference in integrity. Anyways, I'm going to keep reading unless you have a thought.
No.
Okay. So moving on. Chastity has laws of growth, which progress through stages marked by imperfection and too often by sin. Man, day by day, builds himself up through his many free decisions, and so he knows, loves, and accomplishes moral good by stages of growth. I guess, realize what I'm thinking and what I'm about to say is kind of contradictory, maybe, to this. I don't know. Okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Don't explain yourself.
So, here's where my head is at. Chastity has laws of growth. Integrity has laws of growth, which are marked by our imperfection and too often by sin, is what the Catechism says. Too often by sin. This is where our integrity is marked. By that self-mastery of defeating that vice, that sin, that imperfection. So, then when I read, man, day by day, builds himself up through these many free decisions. And I read that, I think, the pride of man. We're free to choose. So you can look at this two ways. You realize you have moral good when you are like, I said no to that piece of cake, or like that, those like little things, right? Like that. But if our growth is marked by our imperfection and by our sin, because obviously you failed so many times that you notice when you've done good.
Right.
This idea of we build ourselves up with our free decisions kind of makes me laugh at us as humans.
Yeah.
Oh, are we weak-minded is really what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, are we so weak-minded that man day by day builds himself up through many free decisions?
Yes.
How many big decisions are you making a day?
Yeah, most are minuscule.
Most are minuscule. And so I just think it's funny, quite honestly, that we're like, I'm doing so good. I said no to my desire for pizza or pasta. Or
even on Fridays, any other day, it's fine not to have meat. But today I'm told I can't have meat.
But I didn't want it yesterday or Wednesday
Didn't
or
care about
Tuesday.
it
Like, any day of the week. Yeah, no.
But today I want steak and my chicken dip.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yeah. So it's these little things. Or it's, I got up to my first alarm today. You know how ridiculously hard that is for me?
So hard.
It's like,
same for me.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard. But I mean, Saint Jose Maria Escriva also says that if you can conquer yourself in that first moment of the day, you'll conquer yourself easier the rest of the day. You know?
I think I might have said this on a different episode even. I don't know when, but I went to confession one time and the priest was telling me that, you know, because I always confess having a lack of focus in my prayer time. And he was like, if you can have 30 seconds of laser focused prayer in these small moments of decision making, you will know how to make the right choice. You'll have integrity, one might say. You know how stupid I am? Well, if I'm going to give myself 30 seconds of laser focused prayer, I need to make sure the house is quiet. I need to sit in my prayer room, light my candle, and then I can set the timer for 30 seconds.
You're like, now I'm set.
So I make this whole 30-minute setup for 30 seconds, and I can't do it because that's too much.
Because by the time that you finish setting up, it's like, oh, Orland's awake again. Never mind.
Exactly. What if I would have just been like, I'm washing the dishes, Orland's asleep, set them down, just 30 seconds. Go back to work. Okay. That would probably do it.
Yeah, but it's true for all of us. We're just, yeah, I don't know. That whole paragraph just made me feel like, we are so weak-minded, so weak in conquering ourselves in this self-mastery. It's kind of pathetic when you reflect on it sometimes.
Yeah.
How can I judge the fact that Peter denied Jesus 3 times?
Mm-hmm.
He lived, breathed, walked with him.
He walked on water!
Yeah. and then he denied him 3 times. Not to say that should make me feel better, but that just goes to show the human weakness.
Oh my God.
Guys, we're weak. And if you think you're strong, then maybe you're like Job, but I don't think most of us are Job.
No.
And maybe you've passed some of these little trials, or you've made your day by day, you're building yourself up with these free decisions, which is awesome, right? We need those to keep growing in integrity. But I think more or less, I'm not trying to just hate on us all, but that even if you're failing these little battles, do better. Me, laundry. But then these greater battles, if we want integrity, we need to do well in these little battles. But also, it's at the same time, it's that other side of, really, this is my challenge for integrity? Coming to this event and being present? Like, is that my challenge for integrity? Because, good gosh, I don't want Job's situation.
No.
But how am I doing with what God has in front of me? Am I being a person of integrity in these moments?
Right.
Yeah. I think that's the point.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
You want to just head into our examination?
I would say so. This can just kind of be our examination.
Yeah, I think the examination is this, because your person of integrity looks different than my person of integrity.
Yeah.
Because your whole and undividedness is different than my whole and undividedness, because our vices and our dividedness is very different to each person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is the examination. It's...
Yeah.
Who do you want to be?
Who do you want to be? What are the qualities that make that person that you desire to be? And what's holding you back? So even also as a young adult or a teen, like, how do you imagine your future? What's your lifestyle that you want to see? What do you imagine your 20s to look like? Your 30s to look like? Your 40s to look like? What do you imagine, like, married life to be? Dating life to be? What do you imagine your work life to be? What kind of a quality does that person that you envision yourself to be have? Because the person who you are now is going to form who that becomes.
Mm-hmm.
I think my friend Cece and I were kind of talking about this of, like, your 20s aren't for messing up and partying. I feel like everyone's like, oh, you're so young. You're only, like, in college. You're meant to party and live it up and make mistakes. No. This is where your decisions make your entire life. You're going to go to school and you're going to focus and you're going to get that job that's going to provide for your family. Or maybe you're not going to go to school. Maybe you're in high school and you're like, I don't actually want to work my whole life. I actually end up wanting to be a stay-at-home mom. So I don't think I want to become a doctor or a lawyer because I don't want to go through that many years of schooling and spend that much money. So it's making these decisions as a young person, and this is, I don't know, maybe this doesn't have to do with integrity, but it's choosing who you want to be. So it's like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but what does a good stay-at-home mom look like? Or I do want to have this job and career. Or I'm a man and I want to be a man that's present to his family, trains his kids in their sports, but also makes enough money to provide for the family, and my wife doesn't have to work. So you're going to choose to become that person as a young child or as a young man so that you can grow into this man that can do those things and can be present. You can be a dad of integrity, a husband of integrity, and a worker of integrity. You can't just go and party and live your life away when you're in your 20s and expect to be this man of integrity when you're in your 30s and 40s. Or same as a woman.
You can't expect to be this, like, virtuous, chaste, pure wife if you're going and sleeping around and partying when you're 18, 19, 20. And then expect to be married by 24 years old and think that you're going to find a good husband. You need to become this woman of dignity at a young age to find the man that's going to respect you in the way that you deserve.
If you want to find your Joseph, you have to be Mary.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
So it's making these decisions at a young age to have the integrity built to be that person, which every phase of life is going to have new challenges to challenge your integrity, to challenge every virtue. But you can't just waste this young phase of your life away thinking, well, I have time.
You can now translate that into motherhood or being in that state now, right? It's okay, you've gone through your 20s. Where are you at now in your 30s? Where are you at now in your 40s? Where are you at now in your 50s, 60s, 70s? Are you in your 30s and you're a parent? How are you showing up as a parent? Are you being a parent of integrity? What kind of mom, what kind of dad did you want to be? Okay, maybe you're in your 30s and your life didn't play out the way you thought and you're actually not married. Okay? Well, if that isn't in the cards for you, or it's not in the cards for you yet, who is it that you want to be? Outside of that envisionment you have. Because reality is maybe you don't have that yet. Okay? Who are you outside of that? That's what you need to focus on. So who do you want to be in 5 years if this is still where you're at, not married? Or not a sister, or not a priest, or not in religious life?
Yeah.
Who, where, why, what are you? Who are you? Who are you trying to be? Okay, you're in your 50s and 60s and your kids are grown and
You're
moving on.
nester.
Who are you now? Are you grandma? Maybe not yet. What do you do with your time? What are you going to do? Go back to work?
Yeah. What's your marriage? You've had kids in your house and now it's just the two of you again. Maybe you've barely ever even had time as just the two of you.
What can I do? Where does God want me? What does it look like?
Where can I serve?
Yeah. Where can I be this person of integrity? It changes day by day, year by year, decade by decade, because you also don't know what's going to come. You could be in your 30s married and have 4 little kids and lose your spouse tragically. Now what does that look like? Where are you going to go? What you going to do? Who are you? And so who you are right now, teens, 20s, 30s, is the trajectory of who you're going to be. It matters. And it literally said in one of the paragraphs, especially in childhood and adolescence, in the catechism. Yeah, it's right here. The effort required can be more intense in certain periods, such as when the personality is being formed during childhood and adolescence. Those are especially the forming years.
Yeah. Your whole life can change, and I truly believe that anybody can change at any point in time by the grace of God. But it is, those early years are so important for formation. Like,
you come with a lot of
like
scars.
a child's their formation years of the ability to trust is formed in their first 3 years of life.
Attachments.
Yeah, their attachments. It's formed in their first 3 years of life. So the way that you treat your child in the first 3 years is how they learn to trust. And so it's like you're not forming their integrity, but you're forming their trust. So trustworthiness, in a sense, is being formed in those first 3 years of life. Because they learn how to be trustworthy by the way that they know how to trust. But again, like I said, anything can change by the grace of God.
That's all from your wannabes tonight, I think. So
that was like kind of our examination plus more tangents.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening.
Yep. Let's work on integrity.
Yeah. Being a person of integrity.
God bless.
I don't know. I thought of like 8 different rhymes with that, and none of them I wanted to say.
Both 8 of them.
No.
I want to hear them. I want to hear them. Just tell me them. God bless.
God bless, do less. God bless, go rest. God bless, confess. God bless.
God bless less mess.
Ooh, I like that one.
Thanks.
That one didn't go through my head, though.
Well, I got it.
That's why I said none of the ones.
God bless do less sins.
Okay, anyways. This is your Wannabe Saints signing off. Maybe someday we'll be gonna-bees, but so far we're just wannabes. Because integrity.
We're wannabes, so I guess in however many hundreds of years we'll find out if we're actuallys.
Bye.
Bye!
Thanks for listening to the Wannabe Saints podcast.
If you have a question or topic you would like us to cover, reach out to us at wannabesaintspodcast@gmail.com or on Instagram at wannabe_saints.
You can find the link in our show notes.
Thanks for listening, and God bless.